Well, greetings, and welcome to all of you Starseeds light workers and beautiful people around the world. This is your host, Joan of Angels, actually bringing you information. Actually, I'm in London, so that's where we're recording from. And we have an amazing, great guest today. His name is Seadar Green, and he is a wisdom. I call anyone who is a skull keeper also a wisdom keeper. And yes, let the skulls be with you. So we have a fascinating talk today, an interview with Seadar Green talking about how to work with crystal skulls, how to work with energy with them, the kinds of things that he does with the skulls, and also talking about his 70-pound skull and how it found him. And what is it like to be a crystal skull keeper? I think that's pretty fascinating. So we're on behalf of Portal to Ascension. Subscribe and like and share Portal to Ascension and joanofangels.com. And I think I'm going to tell you a little bit about our guest right now. Our guest will share insights from his work with crystal skulls. You will also receive practical tips on how to work with crystal skulls, how they are working with you, and how you can incorporate them into your daily practice. He's a meditation teacher and a crystal skull communicator. The peak of your potential as an individual is found at the intersection of focus, coherence, and resonance. Seadar teaches these concepts through the practice of meditation. Star Sirius, the nearly 70-pound intergalactic activator crystal skull, that's huge, 70-pound intergalactic activator. So we're going to find out what that means, guys. Works with Saeder to connect you to the crystal skull community, as well as the crystalline grid of the planet. They are dedicated and devoted to planetary restoration and the ascension of all beings in the Gaia collective. You'll be able to see Saeder in person and other major skull keepers at the Crystal Skulls Conference, November 17th to 19th in Sedona, Arizona, and experience the powerful activations that occur when crystal skulls come together. So we're going to bring on Saeder. Welcome from Mount Shasta.
Hi.
Yeah. Hi. It is good to see you. It is great to see you. Guys, I met Saeder about a year ago when I was at a psychic fair in Mount Shasta. I fell in love with the skull. All I wanted to do was put my forehead on his skull. He was also a vendor. I had my art there. No, I didn't have art, but I was doing readings there. And then we actually invited him to come to our Portal to Ascension conference where he showed his magnificent skulls and did work with people in San Diego. And now he's going to be a speaker at our Crystal Skulls conference. So I thought I'd interview him today for all you guys. So let us know where you're from and if any of you are planning to come to the event in Sedona so we can get to see you. This is a very interesting comment. We're going to talk about it in a minute, the crystal skulls in Atlantis. So, Saeder, I know that Saeder was not your original name. It's a beautiful name. How did you get this name?
I got this name through a lot of inner work and coming into the clarity that my old name was ready to be shed, like the serpent sheds its skin. And so what I did is I started trying on different things, and then eventually in a meditation, the name came to me. And I thought it was just like the tree. So initially I had spelled it just like a cedar tree. And then I did some work with numerology around it and arrived at this spelling of Seadar. And to me, it really combines my love of the sea, the ocean, and my love of the forest. And it feels like that place where the forest and the ocean meet. And so I started using it privately. And then after some time of integrating with that, this year I'm formally changing my name and my court date for that is in a couple of weeks from now. So it will be official and I'll get to change all my accounts and everything.
A court date. That sounds so interesting. So you have to go to court and tell the judge why you want your new name?
Yep.
I should do that with Joan of Angels. Do you have to show proof that you're like, but why? Or is it just like a
It
technical?
doesn't require any cause, but once you have the certified paperwork from the judge, then you can turn around and take that to like Social Security office and DMV for a new driver's license and all of that stuff.
So you have to change everything. I remember years ago when I got married and I had to change my name. A little bit of complications, but I'm proud of you. So everyone congratulate Saeder on really embracing his name and 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 what it means to him and how it impacts your work and your life. I know that I have two names, which is kind of interesting, but I very rarely even use my other name, and I don't even remember it. But I haven't gone the step you are, so I'm very proud of you.
Thank
So
you.
how did you get into crystal skulls? Like, what your first crystal skull experience? What was that like?
It's a great question. I've always been interested in rocks and minerals, crystals, and that's been a lifelong curiosity and relationship for me. And then I was going through a big change in my life, and it was back in 2016, and I stopped at a little crystal store um, in Long Beach, California, and they had three little clear quartz skulls, and one of them kept speaking to me. And so that was my first crystal skull, and that was the only crystal skull I had for about a year. And that was the first one that came in with me, and we sort of integrated together. I took that skull everywhere with me. It's sitting in my dining room right now. Um, and it's only, it's a small skull. It's probably a few grams. It's about a 2-inch clear crystal skull. Um, but after that first year, others started to arrive. Um, I started to get much more interested in crystal skulls and was bringing skulls from a variety of different places into my house, and got to the place where I had to get a new shelf in order to have a place for them all to be. And all of the ones that were coming in were 2 inches or 3 inches or less, smaller skulls. And then I got my first 5-inch skull, which is a good size, a good handful size. And that was a smoky quartz skull. And I took that skull with me everywhere. I had a little spot in my truck that I attached Velcro to so I could put that skull in there in the truck with me, and it wouldn't go anywhere. It wouldn't fly around if I was taking a turn too hard or something like that. And after that first 5-inch skull came in, um, quite a few others did. I probably had about somewhere around 50 skulls in my house at that time. And what happened was I had gone out to visit friends one day. I was living in the Bay Area. I was working an office job. And I had gone out to visit friends, and I had come home late. And as I came into the house, all of the skulls were talking. And they were very insistent that even though it was 1 o'clock in the morning, I needed to check my email right away. And after some time of this, I said, fine, I'll check my email. And so I got on my email, and there was an announcement of an event that I had missed. And it was that Bashar was in town and presenting in Oakland. And they were going to have the Mitchell Hedges skull with them. and the talk was about the crystal skulls. And the doors opened at 9 a.m. for that event. It was currently at this time like 1:30 in the morning. And so I bought a ticket, and the skulls wanted me to pack all of them up. And I compromised with them. I packed a bag with maybe 20 skulls and took them with me and went to go see this Bashar event. And it was the first time I had been in the presence of one of the ancient skulls. And the Mitchell Hedges skull is one of the ones who will be with us in November at the conference. And this is the first time I had seen them. They were on stage, and Bashar was channeling in the room, and so was the Mitchell Hedges skull, part of the presentation. So it was fascinating. And there was quite a bit of information in there about the skulls. And that talk is still up on Bashar's web TV channel. So it is available if you wanted to go back and see it. But I was really activated in this meeting, and Kirby was there in the room as well. Kirby had provided the holotope meditation, had a whole table full of crystal skulls that were available for people. And I met two other skull keepers in the room that day who I became friends with. We just ended up sitting next to each other for that presentation. And so it was really quite a momentous day for me. The next day, the Mitchell Hedges skull, Bill Holman was doing private sessions with the Mitchell Hedges skull. So I went back to Oakland and had a private session with the Mitchell Hedges skull and received an activation there that day. And it was about a year later that Star Sirius found me. So I believe that activation was a critical step along the path of Star Sirius finding me. And so, go ahead.
And okay, and tell us how then Star Sirius found you. This is riveting. I'm riveted by the story.
So, this is going to go all the way forward to where I met you in Mount Shasta too. So, I started getting about a year after that event with the Mitchell Hedges skull, I started getting downloads about a master crystal skull coming in. And I didn't know which skull it was or where it was coming from. And so I started looking. I was looking online, looking. And Leandro, one of the master carvers on the planet, had all these master skulls available, and it didn't seem like any of them. And eventually I found this listing for a crystal skull named Star Sirius, and it was odd. It was up on Etsy and it was up on eBay, but it was weird. The person listing them didn't have seemingly anything to do with crystal skulls. It was not a crystal skull dealer. It was someone who primarily deals in like Spanish gold coins and weird pre-Columbian artifacts. And all of a sudden they had this enormous crystal skull. And I was really confused. I didn't know if this skull was going to come to me or if I was supposed to go seek them out or what. And I ended up starting a conversation with this person and learning a lot more about Star Sirius. And then Star started talking to me. And so I knew that Star was the skull that was coming in. And so I moved forward with that transaction. And what I had found is that Star was previously working with a guardian named Steve Rosley, who ran a crystal shop in Chicago, Rosley's Rocks and Minerals. And he had been a long time crystal dealer. And at a certain point in his career, someone had come into his shop asking for a crystal skull. And he didn't have crystal skulls at the time, but he agreed to go looking for one. And so he went and found two. And he sold one to this other person and he kept one. That was his first crystal skull. A little while later, he ran into hard times and called that person back and asked them if they would buy the other crystal skull from them. And he was able to sell that skull and keep his shop afloat. And a few years after that happened, he got a call that that person had passed away and they were having an estate sale. And because they had a relationship, he was invited to the estate sale. At the estate sale, some of the crystal skulls that he had collected were available, and among them was Star Sirius. And so at that estate sale, he got Star Sirius, and he also got his very first crystal skull back. So Star and Shar were his first and second crystal skulls. And eventually he even started doing YouTube videos, and there are a few that are still online. And that's how I pieced some of this story together. But he got sick and passed. And once he passed, his skulls went to, I believe, his brother. And his brother sat with them for a while and then eventually started to liquidate them. And that's the channel through which Star found me. And I don't know how he picked this gold coin dealer to be the person to do that work with him. But that's how it happened. And so through that channel, I was able to get Star and Shar and a few others from his collection. I tried to keep as many of them together as possible. So Star came to me around Thanksgiving in 2019. And we just worked together at first. And I went through another transformative relationship. And as I came out the other side, I ended up moving up here to Mount Shasta with Star, partly at Star's urging that they wanted to be by the mountain. And as we landed here, I got my house in September of 2021. As I got my house, it became clear that they wanted to start working in the community. And so we started going out and doing little events. And eventually the Mount Shasta Psychic Fair opportunity arrived. And so I got a booth. That was our very first booth together. And we set it up in the way that Star had been working with Steve. It was like Star wanted to go out and work with people, and he would have Star with two other skulls on either side, and you would place your forehead against Star, kind of as you saw in the picture at the beginning of the video, and then you would place your hands on the two skulls on either side, and it forms a circuit, and you would just receive downloads through your third eye. And so we set up the booth this way. That was the event that I met Joan as well. And in that event, about halfway through the first day, a woman came up to me and she said, I got to tell you a story. And what she said was, I went to my first crystal fair about 15 years ago in Tennessee. And at that crystal fair, I met Steve Rosley and had a session with Star Sirius. And we didn't know that the psychic fair was going to be happening. We just happened to be vacationing here. And we saw the sign for the psychic fair. And on the way over here, I was telling my friends the story of that first crystal fair and how I met this crystal skull, Star Sirius. And then she walks in the door, and there's Star.
Wow.
And in that moment, I could feel Steve in the room as well. And so it had kind of everything came full circle. And what I notice about them is that a lot of the skulls that have come to me have been skulls that came after someone else had passed. And then they had sort of come over to start working with me. And so that's the maybe a little bit long-winded story of how I got started and how I got to here.
Well, yeah, because I saw you at your very first event, and I did not know it was your very first event. It was my first fair in a long time. I didn't even have my art. I just did readings there, but I was mesmerized by the skull. And I didn't receive downloads from the skull. I've only received one message from a skull, and that was years ago. I was at I saw the Earth Keepers conference, and I walked by it, and Max said, "Come and visit me." But because I wasn't an attendee, they wouldn't let me make an appointment. It was like And I've been waiting to hear the crystal skulls talk to me again, honest. So I'm actually very excited to reconnect with all of you crystal skull keepers. I think, I don't know, I'm expecting to get some major activations. And I find it really fascinating that they all wanted, that they all talk to you. And I can imagine it must be like pretty loud in your ear if they told you to go look at your email and they direct you. So do they still do that?
Yeah, they do. Um, Going to the Sedona conference was part of that. They've had a lot to say about preparation for that event. Um, it is a big deal that all of the skulls are coming together in that place, and they are busy in the background preparing the energetics as we all head into Sedona in a few months. Um, it looks like I'll be also helping Kirby bring his skulls there, and so I'll have some of Kirby's skulls with me in my vehicle, and so they're making these kinds of arrangements in the meantime. They've also directed me to other shows in particular, and um, when I go to the shows, what's interesting is that they create a field, and the field is much bigger than whatever the event space we happen to be in is. Kind of like your heart field extends way outside of your body. Your heart field is around 20 to 30 feet outside of your body. So you walk into a space, we're all connected through our heart centers. Whether we acknowledge it or not, it is happening. And so the skulls come in and create a energetic field. And anyone coming into that field is being activated and supported, whether or not they come over and interact with the skulls or directly or not. Some people just look and walk by, and some people come over and they just want to get involved and they want to know more and they want to talk and they want to touch and everything. And so it's really fascinating. I have noticed that over doing some shows over some period of time, I'll go back and the first show I might see someone and they'll look at the skulls and they'll have a maybe averse reaction. They'll shy away or they'll be like, ooh, that's spooky or something like that. The next show, they'll be a little more curious. The third show, now they're coming over and they're asking me questions about the skulls. And so you can see how the energetics move over time, even when the initial response might be one of a little bit like, oh, I'm not sure about that. Skulls mean death or whatever kind of a feeling that someone might have.
Well, he's a big skull. I will say this, he was the
Hard to
largest skull,
miss.
hard to miss. And although I didn't hear him, I really was kind of, and I think I did it at the San Diego conference too, and spent some time. But I think I'm going to work on getting activated. Now I know that the Mitchell Hedges skull is coming then. And so when you brought all your skulls together with Mitchell Hedges' skull, what happened for your skulls?
They all wanted to go sit as close to the Mitchell Hedges skull as they possibly could. And I think there were a bunch of people in the audience who wanted that to happen. And at first, it was sort of like you could feel the tension of that energy because there was a presentation going on and people weren't sure. And as we took the lunch break, there was an invitation made to go ahead and bring our skulls up to the stage so that they could be activated. And so all of these people in the audience started bringing their skulls up. There were so many skull keepers in the room. And so soon the stage had this like whole group of skulls sitting there, and they were all activated in that field, and they're all it feels like they're permanently connected. I know all of the skulls are always talking to the other skulls, but it felt special to me, that group that was there that particular day.
Interesting. So Star Sirius is going to be very excited to see Mitchell Hedges again.
Well, Star was not with
Oh,
me.
he was not there. That's right.
He wasn't. And Star is at 70 pounds a little challenging to take around to certain places. He has his own flight case. I wish he had his own road crew, but he doesn't. That's just me. It
Right.
turns out I'm the project manager, the taxi driver, and the bill payer. Is
For
mostly
your
what I do.
skull, for your skull. So your
I
skull
support their.
does he call the shots?
I I support the extravagant lifestyle of the crystal skulls in my care.
Oh, that's so cute. Do you have to dress and clothe them and feed them? Wait. They probably don't like to be alone, right?
Well, there's around 400 in my house, so there's lots of company now, and it is interesting when people come over to visit and step into that field. Like, oh, I'll have a friend come and stay for a night or two, and it's like, well, let's see how that goes.
So when you have friends come, okay, so when I painted in my studio, in my sanctuary, I probably had 100 different energies of different oracle art and angels and stuff. And people would sleep at the house and say, "Oh my God!" Well, either they'd wake up and go, "I have to take that one home because it's been talking to me all night long." And people who wanted to sleep should not come to my house because the art really spoke to them all night long. So is that what happens? Your
Uh,
skulls talk to some of them?
oh, they absolutely do, and a lot of times people will come and visit and then decide that there's one in particular that they need to take with them. And it opens up a conversation that maybe they wouldn't have had otherwise, where all of a sudden now we're talking about crystal skulls, and talking about being in relation to crystal skulls is really about talking about consciousness. And that's what we're all doing here. We're all evolving consciousness. And that's why they're so interesting, because the crystal skulls are particularly good at showing you aspects of your consciousness, things that need your attention, things that are ready to evolve, things that are ready to shift into the next version, and maybe things that we would otherwise overlook or not want to pay attention to because it's unpleasant or it's related to some trauma story that we've experienced or something like that. But the work with them can be so powerful because it tends to bring to the surface exactly what is needed for your next steps of your own evolution.
I'm really getting excited about seeing Star Sirius again because I've seen him 2 or 3 times. I think I also saw you at another one of those psychic fairs in San Rafael. So
Yeah.
I've seen, I guess I've touched the forehead of Star Sirius 3 times now. And I'm going to tell him I want to download next time. But what you said that I'm thinking all the skulls then might be giving you clues about your presentation then. You said that they're kind of talking up a storm. What kinds of things are they telling you we need to hear?
What the focus has been lately is that there's certain special moments that have a lot of potential. And
Mhm.
one that one cycle that happens frequently is the moon cycle. So paying attention to the moon cycle, the new moon and the full moon are full of potential. And so working with that cycle is important. This is a rhythm to really pay attention to. But beyond that, there are other moments where there's a ton of potential, like the upcoming annular solar eclipse or the total solar eclipse that's happening next year in the southeast of the United States and also through northern Mexico. And the focus has really been on combining the work in a sacred site or a power vortex like Mount Shasta or Sedona with the powerful energies of the astrology, and also the work with the crystal skulls to amplify the potential.
Interesting, interesting, interesting. I have a few other questions about that, but I want to say hello to everyone just because so many of you I've met before. So Justina, hello. Lars, thanks for being here with us. Oh, that's so cute. He says, may the skull be with you. Yes, and may the wisdom of the skulls be with you. Absolutely. Our friend Deb Lashbrook is here. Thank you for coming. There's Rhonda, and Rhonda's had some visions of the skulls, which I think is very interesting. She was one of the people who created one of the crystal skulls in Atlantis. So maybe we can talk about that in a second. And then we have Julie, who keeps giving her mother skulls and wants to know if there's a difference between crystal skulls and plastic skulls. So we'll come back to that after I do a round here of saying hello to everyone. New Jersey Tarot, welcome. Jessica, welcome. And Jessica was at the San Diego conference, by the way. Did the wrong one. Jessica was there, and she still remembers the lavender skull that she spent time holding. Well, you should come to San Diego and visit the skulls again. And also, I want to say hi to Starseed Energy. So that was a great question. What is the difference between like what the skulls are made up of? Because, like, for instance, Jody has a jadeite skull. In fact, she calls him like Jady, I think, or some name about that. But she's got a jadeite. You had Star Sapphire, I mean, Star Sirius is like, he's not just a clear quartz stone, if I recall, right? Like, what's he made of? I call him a he. I don't know if he or she.
Star is it's a little bit towards yellow quartz, and there are hematite and iron inclusions in there as well. And I think that the hematite and iron helps to ground those cosmic energies that they channel in. But the question around what the skulls are carved from is interesting. There's three basic things to know about the skulls, and one is the material itself. And so if you look at quartz, the quartz has been on the planet somewhere between 100 and 200 million years. And the quartz has memory and particular qualities of the quartz. One is the piezoelectric. If you apply pressure to quartz, it creates an electric charge. It's an amplifier naturally. Other minerals have different qualities, but the mineral or the stone itself is the building block of creating the skull. The second is the way in which it was carved. And so if you look at a crystal skull, you can see that there's a wide range of carving styles, and you can tell in your body, you can tell the difference between what it feels like to walk into a strip mall with a bunch of mass-produced goods versus what it feels like to walk into the Louvre. And everything is something that was crafted with a tremendous amount of love. And that's what you feel when you walk in and you see a Michelangelo, right? It's just, it looks and feels differently because of all of the love that was poured into the creation, the time, attention, and focus required to create something like that. And so no matter who's carved the skulls, sometimes they just hit it out of the park. They're on their best day, and they produce these carvings that are just exquisite and out of this world. And on the other end of the spectrum, there are machine carved skulls that a machine just churns them out one after the other. They all look exactly the same. And so there's a big difference in how they are carved. If you listen to Leandro, one of the master carvers on the planet, what he says is that the stone tells him how it would like to be carved. And so that's the second piece. The third piece is about our relationship with them. So if you look at the ancient skulls have been held in reverence as a cherished member of the community for millennia. And there is a certain feeling of that energetic that's very different from a very recently carved skull that hasn't yet had the opportunity to really develop and deepen those relationships. Does that help to answer the question around the difference between the different kinds of skulls?
So if they're like plastic, just to get to the plastic part of it, would they have as strong as frequency or vibration as if they were made of crystal and quartz. I mean, I would think so, but that's a judgment I have.
In my experience, the plastic ones are created through molds. And so the plastic is heated up and poured into a mold in order to create the skull shape. And it is it's basically unstructured. Plastic is a liquid, kind of like glass is a liquid. And so it looks a certain way, but it has a very different feeling and energetic than a piece of quartz that was carved. Quartz is highly structured.
Mm-hmm.
The molecules are very organized. That's what gives quartz crystal its strength. That's what makes it so hard. Quartz is mostly air, but it is a 7 on the hardness scale. It's very difficult to carve. It's very hard stone. Where plastic, none of those the molecules are organized in the same way. It's just sort of an amorphous mix that's poured into a mold. And so it has a very different feeling and energetic. And to me, they don't seem to have the, I've seen orgone skulls, for example. And so these are using an acrylic epoxy and then embedding it with crystals in the shape of the skull. That has a wildly different feeling than a carved quartz skull, for example.
Interesting. So I know one of the things you're going to talk about at the conference, well, two things I kind of know about is how you to work with crystal skulls, but also there's an astrological component here. So give us a little clue about how that might be.
From my own experience, what I noticed is that in 2017 there was a total solar eclipse in America. It came in through the Oregon coast and it passed all the way out through the Gulf of Mexico. And I traveled north to go to Oregon to see that eclipse. And that was the first time I had stopped at Mount Shasta. And when I stopped at Mount Shasta, I got the download that would be a good place for me to live. But I was working an office job at the time, and I had a house in the Bay Area, and things were very different then. So then I went to see the eclipse, and the eclipse is a portal energy. There's a way that things can be very focused, and there's a way that you can use the opportunity of the portal of the eclipse to move forward quickly, jump many timelines. And that's exactly what happened for me. I, 4 years later, got a house in Mount Shasta. It turned out the entire world had to be reorganized in the meantime through a pandemic, but it came to pass that I walked away from that office job. I started working remotely and got a house here in Mount Shasta. And the downloads I've gotten about this are that there's real opportunity, especially on particular power vortexes, in order to utilize those energies for the greater good of us all. And so going to Sedona, this will be something that I want to look more deeply at the astrology around that, but I'll give you a better download about that later. But also this year, October 14th, the prep before Sedona is the annular Ring of Fire eclipse that's happening October 14th this year. And so this one is visible in parts of North America. It's north of me. Here in Mount Shasta, it won't be visible. It will, if you're not on the path of totality, what you'll see is a partial solar eclipse. If you travel to the path of totality, what you'll see is a Ring of Fire eclipse where the moon partially blocks out the sun and the sun is exposed as a ring behind the moon. And the place for me nearby that will be visible is Crater Lake up in Oregon. And Crater Lake is a very powerful vortex. And so the work will be taking the crystal skulls, creating a grid, activating the grid with intention, and then sitting in meditation as the eclipse peaks and seeing where those energies want to go. And that work is going to happen about a month before I come to Sedona. And so all the skulls will be activated in that eclipse energy. We'll be bringing that to Sedona with us. And I also know that Sedona and Mount Shasta are directly connected to the ley lines as well. And this will be our first trip to Sedona. I don't know that Star Sirius has never been there before. I suspect that he has, but it'll be our first trip together. And for me personally, I've never gotten to visit Sedona before. Um, so that's some of the work around this, is really leveraging those astrological moments for greater benefit.
Very interested. Very interesting. So what do you do in between going to events with your skulls? What other kind of work do you do? Are you like, is it just you sit around the house twiddling your thumb and getting downloads, or do you actually do other things, like not only with the skulls, but what else do you offer?
I also have a day job. I've been building data centers for 20 years now. So I'm a technologist. I build the back end of the internet. That's also what I do. I do a lot of shows where I'm taking the skulls out to work in person with people. And so we last year we did 5 shows. This year we're doing 15 shows, including Sedona. So that works out to 1 to 2 per month, 2 a month on average. And so I'm home one weekend and then I'm away the next, kind of a thing. Mostly in Northern California, because I won't fly with the skulls anywhere. I just prefer to drive. So I do that work. I also teach meditation. Those are one-on-one sessions. I work with people directly. We work on what's predominant for you in that particular moment, and work to follow those energies and expand consciousness. The work that you do together, your own internal work, goes a long way. But when we work together, we can supercharge it. It's not 1 + 1, it's 1 to the power of. And so when we sit and we focus together, we can get a lot out of an hour session. I am also now launching retreats. My first retreat will be in April of next year for the total solar eclipse, and that'll be on location in Hot Springs, Arkansas, right on the crystal grid. And I also do coaching with people, as well as the meditation teaching. So I like to keep very busy. So that's my full suite right now, as how things are current. That's what I currently offer.
I think that's great. That's a lot. And so how many skulls are you bringing to Sedona?
I am probably going to bring around 200. I think it'll probably end up to be around 222. That's my guess.
Whoa, I don't even know how big a table can hold all 222. Now that you mention it. And Star Sirius. Okay, that's ambitious. And so are you going to be doing activations?
I will be doing activations. I will be in Sedona a few days ahead and a few days after the event as well. I can also offer some private sessions at that time where we can go a little deeper. Sometimes it's a lot to try to focus in the midst of a big, busy conference. And so there'll be some opportunity for some quieter locations for that as well. And like I said, I've never experienced Sedona, so there are some particular sites that we want to go and activate with around Sedona. And so I'll be spending some time doing that as well.
Very fascinating. Okay, so people will have a chance to not only hear your presentation on how to activate them, and including the astrology at that time and the skulls and how to work with them, right? And then they'll also be able to go to your booth, find their own skull, see if or connect to Star Sirius, which I think is really exciting. So did we forget anything that you want everyone to know?
I think we covered all the high points today. Thank you so much for the opportunity to be here with you all today. And thanks for bringing the lovely questions. I really love getting to connect with you. Thank you so much.
I know, I'm really happy. So before we let you go, though, first of all, let me have Tina bring up the website so you guys can see all the skulls here. Okay, look at that. Saeder, do they feel good just even being in a photograph together like this?
Something that I learned is that it doesn't require physical proximity to work with skulls. And so if you'll, as you scroll down this page, there's lots of pictures of the skulls. You can connect to the energy of the skulls directly through the picture as well. And so when I'm working in person at the booths, I encourage people to take a picture so that they can re-access those energies at any time.
So guys, we have a lot of crystal skull keepers. We're going to have a lot of skulls there. And I'm thinking the skulls are going to be very noisy and calling a lot of you to come and talk to them. So I wonder, do we have your skull up here? Yes, there's Star Sirius on the right there. Wait, stop. Come back down. So do you see how interesting the features? They all have different features. They must all have their own signature then, in a sense, because
That's
they
right.
look different, right?
The different crystal, the different style of carving, and the way that they have been in relationship feels very different as you
Now,
look through these.
does your skull like all the other skulls, or are there skulls that do skulls ever repel each other or something?
I haven't personally experienced that. My understanding is that all the skulls are directly in contact with all of the other skulls, including the ones that we don't know where they are on the planet.
You
So
mean
there's the ones.
all the skulls on the planet, even if we don't own them, or I think they own us, but they are all communicating?
That's right. And so forming a relationship with one crystal skull, you from that connection, you can connect to other skulls on the planet, even if you're not in physical proximity to them. And so a lot of people talk about the legend of the 13 ancient skulls, and not all of the 13 are currently found, but that doesn't mean you can't connect to them. So you can connect to all 13 through working with any crystal skull.
Well, one last question then. What would be the significance of all 13 of them coming together? And you're talking about 13 specific ancient skulls, right, that have some kind of history. What is the true significance that you think when they all come together?
The legend says that when they come together, it will give us access to information that's vital for the survival of our species, for
Oh,
the evolution of the planet. And so there are many people that are out looking specifically to try and find those particular skulls to bring them together so that we can unlock that information.
interesting. And I also was told, you're triggering a memory of people who are trying to stop them from all coming together as well.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's
because
right.
that's going to give us our true history and set our new direction. I can see that there are other forces that would want to get in the way of that.
Every light
Well,
has a shadow.
every light has a shadow. Yes. Now, I had 2 crystal skulls years ago that I had left in a suitcase at my friend's, and I guess she lost them. And as we're talking, I swear I could feel them. I really missed them. One of them was a pink skull. And I didn't expect this, but I actually am really wondering if we can call those skulls back. I feel so bad that I lost them. I don't know if I've said this on any other show, but I do. I feel bad that they got lost under my watch.
Well, I'll tell you something. At Lionsgate this year, I had a group of 12 fire opal skulls that were activating outside in the Mount Shasta energy. I had set them up in a grid, and then we had some high weirdness happen here over the weekend. A bunch of things happened, but one of the things is that I went out the following morning to get those skulls, and there were only 4 out of that group of 12. And so I searched that whole area, and I searched around, and I ended up finding one more. So 5 of the 12 I was able to find, but the other 7 were not there. And I searched thoroughly. So it wasn't like the wind had knocked them over or something like that. They were just literally not there anymore. And the download was that they had gone off to work somewhere. And I don't know how that happened. I don't know who took them there. I don't know what their means of transport was, but that was the download I got. So I just have to trust that that is true for the skulls that you lost, that they have gone off to do some work.
Do you think someone could have taken them? Were they in a location someone could have grabbed them?
Possibly, possibly. Well, they were outside, but it also could have been a crow or a raven or a, for all I know, right? Like I have no way to know how
Whoa.
they made their way, but they did.
Wow. All right. This is one of the best conversations I've had with a skull keeper. Really fun to talk to you. I've been waiting a long time to really just have a heart to heart with you. So I appreciate you coming on air with us. And I think it's going to be great. I can't wait to sort of, when I see you again, you're actually going to be legally Seadar Green, which I just, yeah, right. Let's give it. I mean, guys, you should give him a big hand where he is. I think that's so fascinating. So, guys, check out Seadar Green at his website. We have it right here. Let's put but sign up for the Crystal Skulls conference if you feel inclined to want to meet the skulls in person. Meet Ken. I'm sorry, Seadar. Got to get ready that his changed his name completely. But sign up for the conference. Come and join us. If you can't, it will be live streamed, which will also, as Seadar is saying, if you see them all together, you'll already be activated. And we're inviting everyone, all of you, to bring your skulls with you. We're going to have the major skulls on the stage over the weekend, but we'll have a table for people to bring up their skulls, a separate table, so they're not mixed in, for people to activate their skulls. And we have a VIP dinner where the skull keepers are going to come and bring their skull. Oh my God, your 70-pound star Sirius. Can't wait to meet him. And then you can all bring your skulls. Also, they'll be outside and you'll have a chance to not only speak one-on-one with the skull keepers, but you can actually put your forehead on many of them simultaneously, if you could know. But you'll have that really intense opportunity to download that. So I want to first of all, I want to thank you, Seadar. I'm just so proud of you, listening to how you stepped into this. I'm guessing it. So it seems really relatively new, and I think it's kind of synchronistic that I met you at your very first vending weekend.
Yeah.
And look how far you've come since then. And Kirby says you're wonderful. He said you were a wonderful student. He was excited that you were coming to the conference. And I think it's going to be good for you to meet all these other, kind of, some of them are famous skull keepers. Not that that matters, but it's almost like, oh yeah, I'm hearing your skull talk to me. He says, this is your emergence into this world of the skull keepers in a different way. And will be a powerful upgrade for you and your team, because you're being accepted into a group, another powerful group. And so now I'm even more excited that you're coming.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be there and I can't wait. And it's just, I'm counting the days already. It's only 3 months.
Right. Oh my God. Hard to believe. We're going to Egypt for a month, and then I'm going to Greece, and then I get to Sedona. So I'll be activated by then. So we will see you, Seadar, at the Crystal Skull Conference. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Oh, you too. Give my love to Star Sirius. Tell him Joan of Angels is coming. Watch her activation. All right. We'll see you then. All right. Guys, was that fascinating or what? Seadar has such a great way of explaining things and kind of taking you into a story that I myself was mesmerized and really now more excited than ever to connect with the skulls. So I want to thank all of you for being with us. Share this out if you have friends interested in the skulls. Let us know if you're interested in coming by signing up. Reach out to me if you're interested in just connecting. I'm Joan of Angels. I am the Oracle of Ancient Wisdom. I am the Angel of Light Activations. cosmic activations and visual art that really takes you to a new level. And sign up at Portal to Ascension for more information about all the other events that we do. So thank you. Subscribe, like, and share my YouTube channel, Portal to Ascension YouTube channel, and we will see you all next time. Have a great day. And just, if you watch this again, kind of tune into this concept of the skulls, see if you're hearing the skulls and all that jazz. All right. So see you all next time. Have a great, beautiful day, and sending love from London.